This
And
conference will now be recorded.
good morning and a warm welcome to everyone. I, Pallavi Mudol, on behalf of KLE Society's College of BCA RLSI, Belgavi. I take this opportunity to welcome our guest for the day, Mr. Manas Sahu, Director Engineering, Chorus. We are pleased to have you, sir. And I also welcome all the students for the session. I hope you all will have a great learning. Now I hand it over to Manas sir.
Thank you, Vinu, and thank you everybody to give me this opportunity to talk to you. I'll try and finish this presentation in the next 45 minutes so that I can leave some time for interaction. But it'd be really great if you can stop me where you feel that you have a question and ask that question out instead of waiting to the end. That'll make it a much more interactive session. I have some slides that I'll be going through, and it talks about the IT trends and what is happening in the industry right now, how the IT industry is shaping up, what is going to be going forward, what is the industry working on. And then I'll be going through some of the technologies that people are learning and are still in use and in heavy demand. In the next few months to a year to 2 years, you'll be sitting in interviews for different companies. So I'd like to spend a couple of minutes to talk about a few things that companies do take a look at when they come for interviews into campuses. And there are some set rules that people need to have some skill sets, but there are some unsaid rules that every company look for and unsaid skill sets that company look for. So I'll try and spend some time there as well. But it'll be great if you can keep it interactive. You can ask questions if you have anything that you want to go deeper into. I may not be able to go deep into every technology or every area, but I'll try and I'll try and give as much information as possible. So with that, I'll share my screen. Just a minute, I'm unable to. Vinu, I'll have to join back again. The GoToMeeting is asking me to restart the GoToMeeting.
Okay, sir, no problem.
Give me a minute.
Okay.
Vinu, can you make me the organizer again?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, now you can share the screen.
I think I'm dialed in twice into the same meeting. I actually don't use GoToMeeting, so this I have downloaded fresh. So there's some issues. I see myself in. There are two different instances where I am there right now.
I think first you have to log out from the previous one.
Just. Okay, I am in now. Can you give me the access now?
Yes, sir. Yeah, now you will be able to share the screen.
That icon is not getting enabled. Share screen icon.
Let me try it again, sir. Can you check it now, sir?
Yes. Mhm. Mhm. Let me know if you can see the screen now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We can see the
Okay.
screen.
I'll put into presentation mode. Sorry for the delay. I don't use GoToMeeting so much, so this is a new
Yes,
tool
sir.
for me.
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay. So let me start. The first section is about where IT is headed, and what is being done in the industry right now, what different companies are working on. So the first thing, so you might be hearing this term called digital transformation quite a lot, and it's been the cornerstone of what bulk of the IT industry has been working on since last 20 years. If you look at what was happening in the early 2000s to a decade later, so all the last 20 years has been about digital transformation. You talk about a bank. If you walk into a bank in 90s, you will have a lot of manual processes where you can't check your own account balances online. You can't do many things online there. Everything was a human touch point where you have to go to the bank, walk into the bank physically and do certain things. You talk about insurance or retail or any of these things. You didn't hear about a Amazon or a Flipkart in the early 2000s. There's all latest that is coming in where you can buy things online, you can browse a catalog online, you can place an order online. So more and more things are going digital, where the digital touch points, so human touch points are being removed and digital touch points are being introduced. And that is about just about how you interact with the customers, how every different industry is interacting with the customer base, but also within the company itself. For example, if you talk about a bank, how is the loan department talking to the customer department, or how is the loan department interacting with the accounts department? These were different departments, and earlier it used to be a file that used to move from one desk to another desk, and there are a lot of manual human specific processes were involved. So the digital transformation actually brought in process and product transformations in the last 20 years, where a lot of these non-human human-based interfaces or processes were replaced by digital processes, where things were then went on to online. So the loan department went online first. That is, the processes started being done on computer. But then because each of the departments were going into a computerized model of working, it was also easy to share information. Where it was a file that was to go from one desk to another desk, it's now a complete block of information going from over the wire to a different department. So how do you connect different departments of the organization? How do you make it more efficient? That is where the most of the focus was in the last 20 years. And if you look at various different industries, be it banking, retail, insurance, transportation, supply chain, any of these industries that you talk, even education for that matter, um, the focus was on process and product transformation in the last 20 years. And a lot of these organizations are in different process of maturity. Some organizations are really mature, where all the processes are digital, everything is digital. All the digital transformation has gone to a point where everything is connected properly. But there are some other organizations which are still going through this process. There are some organizations which are still doing the digital transformation. So bulk of the work that you see in the IT industry right now is focused around digital transformation of process and product, in where some companies are still catching up. But we're also right now seeing in the last 3-4 years, what we've seen is that from process and product transformation, we are now going to experience transformation. It's okay that I want to actually look at my account balances online. It's all fine. And most of the banks are now offering it. But what if I walk into a branch right now? do I still need to talk to a human to get my get a FD done, or if I want to get a draft create done, do I need to still talk to a person, or is there a kiosk where I can go and do something on my own? Now, these are the things that where the digital transformation happening. From an experience perspective, we are right now used to, and there are various factors what is leading to this process transformation. If you look at this section here, we talk about empowering employees and engaging customers. Now, if you look at, this is where the experience transformation is coming in. If you look at optimized operations and transform products, this is where process and product transformations are coming in. These were the initial transformations that were taking place, and they're still happening. But now the bulk of transformation is around the empowering employees and engaging customers. This was not the focus 10 years or 20 years back, but this is the focus now. And what is making it possible is the later and is a advancement in technology that we're seeing right now. It's also what kind of tools are we using on a day-to-day basis. So, for example, we use WhatsApp for messaging. We use all sorts of social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram and all of these. So it's now if we talk about our employees of an organization, they are also normal human beings outside the organization, and they'll be using these tools in their normal day-to private life. They'll be using a Instagram, they'll be using a Facebook. But when they walk into an organization and start working on tools that the organization is providing them, they get hampered because they don't get the same experience. They're like, okay, there's a archaic application that is there where I'm working on, I'm dragging, dropping some files. I'm opening up a file which has some 20 form fields to be filled up, some form that has 20 fields to be filled up. Why can't I just scan a form, or why can't this information be picked up from multiple other sources? Why am I having to type so much? That is the experience transformation we're talking about. If an employee who used to working on tools like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram in his private life, they expect the same kind of experience when they walk into an organization and work in the organization tools. So more and more things are now going to a place where how can we make the experience of a average person who could be an employee or a customer more enjoyable. And it's sort of an extension of whatever tools they are using in their private life. They have the same extension when they go into when they interact with a brand or a company. So if you talk about most of these companies right now, from manufacturing companies like your car manufacturing companies or your home appliances manufacturing companies, even to products and services like Intel and Adobe and all of these places, they are also looking at experience transformation. When a customer interacts with that brand, how can their experience be just one of the best experiences the customer has? Because right now it's not easy. It's one thing to sell something, a product or a service to a customer. It's another thing to retain that customer for a long time. People can change their loyalty within a matter of time. So you buy a phone today from Samsung, you use it for a couple of years or 1 year, but then you want to change it to a different brand altogether. So how can Samsung make sure that when the person wants to change the phone, they continue with the Samsung phone rather than going to a different? And the only way of doing that is the experience through the journey of that product is very good for the customer. When they're interacting with the product or when they're interacting with the brand, if the experience is really good, as a customer, you will come back to that same brand. That is what is now the focus. How do you retain a customer? How do you make sure the customer comes back to you? So that's where your empowering employees and engaging customers is coming in. And if you look at most of these companies right now, and it's cutting across different verticals, not just specific to a certain type of company. It's across different companies. This is where the bulk of the work is happening right now. If you walk into if you get selected for a company, and most likely you'll be building tools and products which are centered around social media, which are centered around how the social media engages its customers or employees. And this will not be a social media like a Facebook or Instagram, but it'll be a social media where a B2C happens, a business to customer connect happens, or a business to employee connect happens. So that's where most of the focus is. Just feel free to stop me and ask questions wherever you think I might. If I'm going fast, let me know and I'll slow down. So moving on, the second set of place where most of the work is happening is disruptive ideas, and where this is where again advancement in new technologies is helping us do things. So for example, digital content management. We talk about Netflix or Prime Video and all of this. Who thought 5 years, 6 years back that you could watch streaming videos on your TV or a phone? I mean, YouTube was there, but it was not a good experience. But what Netflix and Prime Video and all of these digital content media platforms are doing is kind of changing the whole customer experience on how they watch content. So I don't have to walk into a theater to watch a movie. I can get it on streaming platforms. That's a disruptive idea. They completely change the whole model of how people view entertainment. Blockchain. Um, that's kind of going to revolutionize the way we maintain records and collaborate together to create some data. IoT is kind of changing the way data is getting analyzed and data is getting created itself. Uh, I mean, if you look at the previous slide on digital transformation, all these companies that have gone through process and product transformation, they're sitting on a massive amount of data. They're also sitting on a lot of digital connection points where now IoT can easily be enabled. So I mean, if you look at again 15, 20 years back, putting a chip onto a some device somewhere was expensive because chips were expensive. Internet itself was expensive. But now these are like the cost is not on the chip or the internet. It's actually cost of not doing that and resulting in loss of a customer. So IoT is something that is really revolutionizing the way a lot of these different companies are thinking about customer experience. We talk about an airport. IoT is playing a major role there, from baggage handling to how many people are walking across a concourse to what is happening with the what is the turnaround time for a flight. There are multiple airports right now which are implementing IoT-based applications, and this is all powered by software. There's not something that if you put a chip in and you just forget about it. This is all powered by software. There are supply chain systems like I'll tell you about a use case where Jaguar Land Rover is looking at revolutionizing their factory in such a way that for the Jaguar car manufacturing line, they are putting in IoT devices which kind of calculates the inventory they have, and their their ancillary units are set up within a 5 kilometer radius of the factory. So they don't want to come and they don't want to stock up material for the whole day and eat up space. Instead, they want to have just-in-time inventory. So the moment the device is able to find out that my supply chain line is going to stop or my production line is going to stop in the next 20 minutes because I'm going to run out, it'll send out a message it'll send out an order to the ancillary unit, and the data and the materials will come in. So they want to go to just-in-time inventory management for the complete production line, and that is being driven by IoT devices. Again, it's backed by software. It's not just hardware, it's backed by software. So it's one thing that the hardware can go and install a chip into a refrigerator or a washing machine or do something, but in the end you have to analyze the data. You have to make sense of that data. So a lot of these is all powered by software. So disruptive idea, again, if you look at it, let's just talk about India as a use case. If you take each of the verticals like hospitals and retail or construction business or agriculture, all of these places where there were traditional processes of doing things, they are now being thought through in a different way altogether. Can we put a digital media into this? Can you digitize this whole process? I mean, look at Uber and Ola. It's a taxi company, but they don't own single taxi on their own. But they have completely disrupted the whole industry of how cabs work or how the cabs hiring business works. They've completely disrupted the whole thing. So this is where again the next generation or next wave of application development and technology trends are happening. You look at a process, there is something that can be changed or changed completely in the way it's operating. Those were the things where these are different things that can happen. Digital content management, blockchain, IoT. The digital content management is not just a Netflix and Prime Video and all. But if you look at a manufacturing company right now, let's say you buy a Samsung refrigerator, you have a user guide. Now that user guide comes to you in a hard pack. But what if you go to Samsung.com, put in the model of your refrigerator, and you get the complete user guide as PDF. Now that's also digital content management. They've completely digitized the user guides and operation guides onto PDFs, which can now be downloaded very easily. You look at digital libraries, that's all going to digital content management, and it's all backed by software. So there's a lot of work that's happening in these areas actually. Then there are some evergreen fields, and I'm calling them evergreen because of the nature of the business they are in. Like for example, DevOps. So you have cloud computing, which is cloud operations. You have AWS, Azure, where from traditional data center based operations, or where a company or a business used to own the infrastructure of the number of VMs and databases and all of that. It's now getting all, I can pay by subscription. So I can go to cloud, I can take, instead of owning that VM, I can just take a subscription of part of the VM. I can only take a part of the database and based on my usage and pay for it. Now, it's one thing that I can do this from cloud computing, from a cloud hosting environment. But what if, but I still need to have people to manage that instance. So that's where DevOps are coming in. It's a development plus operations combined together to make sure that I can do a cost optimization. I have developers who can do development, but I have operations people who can manage VMs and network and load balancers and database and all of that. But if I combine that skill set, I get DevOps people who can actually go do development and manage the whole operating system, the whole cloud environment. Now that, as a business, it's a cost saving for me. So DevOps is going to be evergreen for the next at least 10, 12 years, 10, 15 years. Cloud computing is here to stay. I mean, that's again a disruptive idea, where from traditional businesses owning VM or various different servers, now it's gone to a pay by model. So the cloud computing is a disruptive idea, and that's just going to stay. And you'll see more and more technologies move to cloud. As we are moving to cloud, as we are doing all of these things, the number of touch points, the number of stacks, if you look at the tech stack right now from an application development perspective, if you compare to a tech stack of early 2000, it used to be very simple. There used to be application tier, there's a database tier, and maybe some integration here and there. So it's very simple, and if you find a performance issues, most likely it'll be in that application. But if you talk about a tech stack or a tier right now for an application, it starts from firewall to a clustered environment, multiple nodes. There's a web servers, there's an app server, there's a database, there's MQs, there's queue-based systems, there are file-based systems right now. So there's just too many things right now, and just at this point, a failure could be at any point. The number of failure points are multiple now. So performance engineering, it used to be called performance QA earlier, but now it's called as performance engineering. That itself has evolved into a branch of engineering itself, and the amount of focus that is being put on performance engineering right now is just, I mean, it's not so performance engineering actually, the performance engineers are actually paid much higher than what developers are being paid right now. It's one thing to put an application into cloud and get it to production and getting customers to use it, but number one point where customers actually leave your application is when their experience is not good. And the only reason their experience is not good is the performance of the application is not good, the security of the application is not good, the search optimization is not good, or the accessibility is not good. So I mean, again, 10 years back, you never heard about these terms so much. Security was, but SEO was never thought about. So SEO is called a search engine optimizer. As you build applications, the success of your application is only dependent on if somebody can search it on Google and find it on the first few hits. Within the first few links, if your site is coming up in Google, then your application is successful. Otherwise, if it's coming out way below the page, or it's on the second page or third page, you kind of lost the whole game. So for application developers who are putting web applications on the cloud or hosting web applications, the number one criteria right now is how can I make it optimized for Google search. So Google runs an algorithm, and based on that, it will try to find your application. And in that algorithm, if your application comes up in the first 3, 4, 5 hits links, then your application is successful. The chance of diverting traffic to your application is high. So that's why, sorry. That's why this line that you see here, this called as non-functional requirements. When you talk to a customer about what needs to be built, they'll talk about the functional requirements. But these are the non-functional requirements, where so a lot of times the focus is on functional requirements. Oh, the customer is asking this requirement, let me go and build it in the application. But if you don't build a functional requirement, your customer is not going to go away. I mean, if you don't build any of the requirements, it definitely will go away. But if you miss on a couple of requirements, they will not go away. But if you don't, if for an application development, if you don't focus on these non-functional requirements, the customer is definitely going to go away. The performance is not good, if the security loopholes, if the SEO is not good, or the accessibility is not good, then the customer is definitely going to go away. And from my experience in the last 20 years, the number one reason for customers moving away from a software vendor are these 4 or 5 things. That is why the bulk of focus on in application development world right now is going to these non-functional requirements. So if you excel in performance engineering, or if you excel in security analysis and security remediation of application loopholes, SEO as a branch of activity, if you excel in that, your demand in the market is very high. This is something that I have borrowed this line from one of the CEOs of a company. I mean, earlier I could run a retail business without having any tech in that in my business. I can run a so it was possible for somebody like a Big Bazaar or Hypercity to run a retail chain without having any investment in IT, but that's not possible now. If they're running it like that, it's a very inefficient business. So we could say that some businesses can run without IT 10 years back, but that's not true now. So every business is an IT business right now. Every business that you see. If I'm running a fleet of trucks, I need to have IT there. If I'm running a couple of retail chains, I need to have IT there. If I'm running a manufacturing business, I need to have IT. And IT is not, so IT was thought about as a cost 10 years back in these traditional businesses, but it's not no longer. IT is the core of the businesses now. So you talk about every traditional business process, like retail, banking, insurance, supply chain, all of that. These are all traditional business, manufacturing. We are seeing a migration to intelligent systems. They want to digitize the process. They want to make sure the products are better. They want to make sure that their customer experience is better. So a lot of places where IT is now playing a major role. So it was earlier the job market for IT was only limited to the IT companies, the core IT companies, but now it's not that. You have, if you come to Bangalore, you'll see a Lowe's, which is a traditional retail chain in US, having a big IT firm here. You have different retail chains across the world setting up their IT arm here because, yeah, one is cost advantage, but then they know that they have to invest in IT. And if they have to do it, why not do it in Bangalore and why not do it in India rather than doing it in elsewhere? So you see a lot of push from traditional business to set up IT companies here. Airbus has an IT arm here. I mean, Airbus is a aircraft manufacturing company. Why will it have an IT arm? But it has a strong IT arm in Bangalore. It's the same thing for GM, for General Motors, for Maruti Suzuki. Maruti Suzuki is based out of Gurgaon. Their factories are in Gurgaon, but they chose Bangalore to open up the IT arm, where they're doing data analytics, they're running AI ML systems, they're doing all sorts of IT things in Bangalore. So if you look at, sorry, is there a question? Okay, so if you look at marketing, which is a so if you look at domains like marketing, which are sort of human to human touch points, but they're also moving to the digital scale. With the emergence of digital marketing, there's IT in healthcare now. Handling of imaging and video is another field where a lot of work is happening, especially on the security area. So if you have a CCTV camera set up anywhere and you want to look at face recognitions, there's a lot of AI ML system being built on top of it. So there's a lot of investment in IT is going on in traditional areas now, where humans were involved earlier to do certain things. The humans are now being replaced by computers. So that's how you're getting efficiency into the various different businesses. Within India, if you see, there are from the government side, a lot of these e-governance projects that are happening across various different states where they want to remove the human touch points of doing day-to-day work. Like, for example, if I want to apply for a license, driving license, if I want to apply for a house registration, most of these things are now moving to an online platform. So that the interface between the citizen and the government becomes more smoother. You talk about the direct to bank transfers, or how the government subsidiaries are being moved on to the people and how they get it. That's also moving to an online business so that humans are taken out of that whole picture. The e-governance project that are running across that I spoke about. Plus, apart from that, right now the smart city projects that are coming in, they are employing a huge number of people to make sure that, and these are all backed by software. All software systems are being backed. So the smart city projects are actually some of the major job generators in the country right now. And right now, every city is trying to vie for the smart city project. How can they do things much better? The Andhra Pradesh government, I think, is almost around having a 300 to 400 crore investment only on the smart city for Hyderabad, and just for the IT system. I'm not talking about the whole project. Just for IT, they have that much of budget. So there's a lot of money being put into here, and a lot of jobs being generated in the e-governance and the smart city projects as well. And that's again where tech and non-tech fields. Then there's a whole host of emerging technologies that are there, like process automation, um, analytics and AI and ML-based system, like cognitive computing, intelligence automation. I mean, I'll give you examples where this is right now being put into play at this point. I mean, if you look at a banking application or a banking system right now, they're sitting on, so for a bank like ICICI or HDFC or SBI, they have data that is worth, I mean, that's going back 20, 25 years now. 20, 25 years of worth of data is huge amount of data. And what they're trying to figure out is which of the age brackets do people typically take loans. For example, if you talk about a car loan, what is the age bracket when people take a loan and what is the loan amount? So if you look at a early age bracket around 20, 25 years, 20, 23 years, all the way to 30, 35, the loan might be for a small to mid segment car. If you go to a higher age bracket, it might be for a larger segment car because of family needs increase. So they're trying to look at that kind of data as to what part of the country, what kind of job profile, what is the age bracket. So if you combine all of this data together, you kind of get a picture as to, okay, if I have to sell a high value car loan, let me target these customers. So that is the kind of analysis that is happening right now. If I have to sell a house loan to somebody, what's my target customer? Right? It was not like, okay, I'm just sitting on a, so there's a salesperson who keeps calling people saying, oh, do you need a house loan? It's not that anymore. It's actually a very targeted marketing that is happening. Okay, this is the segment of customers who might be interested in a house loan. Do they already have a house loan? If they're already having a house loan, cut them out from that whole thing. If they don't have a house loan, then they are the prime candidates to whom I can sell a house loan. So the selling and marketing right now has become a very targeted field. I mean, you might have seen this already. You go and search on Google for, let's say, a pair of shoes, and you view certain products on Amazon or Flipkart, and then you go to any other website. On the side, you'll be seeing the same shoes coming up in this one. It's nothing but it's all backed by AI/ML. It's looking at how your interaction with your computer system is, and then giving you targeted marketing content. But that's again from how a business tries to up its efficiencies on marketing and selling. But cognitive computing and AI/ML is now going to a different level altogether. I spoke about security systems where you want to have CCTV cameras all over the city connected, and I can have face recognition tools being backed by AI/ML systems. Now, if there's a human sitting and analyzing some 1 lakh faces across every day, that's not possible. I'll definitely miss somebody and I'll not be able to catch the person that I want to catch. But if there's an AI/ML system, so there's a lot of these intelligence community and the police which have a lot of data on these on whom they want to catch. The photographs are there. If you feed that into an AI/ML system, it'll actually make a database of all the face points for every person who is on the database. And then if you feed all the CCTV feeds into that system, it'll keep analyzing it on a real-time basis and immediately flags if it sees somebody who matches the description. And so instead of a human doing it, in a split second, I can have a recognition of a person across any part of the city. But that is not possible by a human or any human-centric system. It has to be backed by an intelligent system. From a application perspective or a business perspective, there are cases where the Kuala Lumpur airport right now is installing a system which can count the number of people in a queue through face recognition as well as thermal imaging and find out how many people are standing in a queue. And then there are backed by software system which says that if the number of people in the queue are more than 5 people, immediately send out a notification and open up another counter. And that's on the immigration counters. So that's all backed by, there's no human involved in this whole mechanism. It's all backed by software systems which are analyzing the number of people, making intelligent decisions, and then sending out notifications where new counters can be opened. So this is where a lot of work is also happening. Then there are traditional avenues which have been there since last 20 years and will also continue for the next 15, 20 years, which are like embedded systems, which are on C, C++ systems and mainframe applications, which the banking application banks do maintain right now. Then there are traditional IT outsourcing, all these retail chains I'm talking about, which are setting up retail and manufacturing chains that are setting up businesses in India, they need people to maintain their IT system. They also enhance their IT system as things go along. Core domains like banking, insurance, retail, supply chain, manufacturing, all of them actually are cranking up investment on IT, and they're outsourcing all of that work to India. So there's a lot of jobs being opened up for that section as well. This is just a recap slide. What are these top software developments trends of 2020, and that these are something that will continue. So we spoke about instant apps and artificial intelligence, progressive web apps. Software development outsourcing will still continue to be quite big. Cloud computing is here to stay. From an architecture perspective, microservices is something that people are migrating to. Okay, one more thing that we're seeing as an IT trend right now is that all the investment that I went into IT in the early 2000s and around the 2010 timeframe, the software architecture was very different at that point in time. So applications have been built. Now applications also have a lifeline, or they have a lifetime of, I mean, in certain time they will get outdated. So there will be investment needed to upgrade those technologies to the next latest and greatest, and that's when microservices are coming in, or even progressive web apps are coming in. Things like React and Angular and Node.js are coming in there. So earlier, which was to be a purely Java-based application, are now getting migrated to Java and JSP-based application, are getting migrated to React, single page, single web page-based development, more services backend. So most likely, if you join a company in the next 1 2 years and 1 months, within a few months to 1 to 2 years, you'll most likely be working on either creating an application using these technologies or migrating an application from older technology to the new technology. Mobile was pretty hot I mean, was an emerging technology 5-10 years back, but now mobile is here to stay. If your application cannot open up on a mobile browser, or if you don't have a mobile app, then people don't take you seriously. So, but if you do the same slide, let's say in 2012-13 timeframe, the mobile would have been sitting somewhere in the first or second technologies. But now it's gone down here because it's now de facto technology. It's not something that is emerging. It's already there. Blockchain is, though we hear a lot about blockchain, but we don't see it so much used because people are still trying to make sense of this whole thing. Even IoT is actually it's not for consumption of every business. So people are still trying to make sense of this. Cybersecurity is always there, and performance. So I'll take a minute here, and I'll see if there are questions that you want to that you have on these slides. I'm not sure if this is helpful to everybody, or I'm talking about something that maybe you guys already know about. Okay, I'll move on. So this section is talking about when you go into any interview, or when a company comes for a campus interview, what are they looking for? This is the set requirements. So I mean, when you're going into your IT career and you're thinking about, okay, let me just pick up these technologies and master them, or go deeper into. So what technology should you pick up? And if you look at, so when I was starting my career, choice was very simple. There was Java, C, C++. That's it. And from a database perspective, the databases also were just a couple of databases that were there. It was not a very complex. There's not too many things that you have to learn. You just have to learn a couple of things and then learn as you go, as you say. But now you really need to be smart as to what you want to pick up, because what you pick up will also define your career path in the next few years. So this section is just going to give you a brief about what is happening right now in the industry. So if you look at what skill set is very hot in the market, we talk about various different skill sets like SEO engineers, then we talk about accessibility engineers, we talk about performance security developers. But if you look at it, backend developers who are working on Java or C#, that's the #1 skill set. This has been an evergreen field. Developer, it actually took a dip 5-6 years back, because of emergence of new technologies and people moving to things like React and Angular. But people quickly realized that developing a backend application is not that easy. There are just too many variables that you have to take into account. There are threading, there is CPU consumption, there is memory consumption. It's a very complex piece of code that you can write on the backend. So backend development or a full stack development is always hot in the market. Similarly, developing front end. This is again coming up. This is again a very hot trend in the market, is because the front end technologies keep changing every month. There is a React, there's Angular, there is all sorts of JS-based technologies that are coming in. .NET offers itself a different kind of paradigm on UI development. Then there is Python, PHP. All of these things can contribute in how you develop your UI. Then there are desktop and enterprise applications, which I think will roll into in some of these top skill sets. Mobile development, again, if you are just a full stack or a backend or a front end development, I think you need to have a secondary skill set of a mobile developer. But then DevOps specialist. This skill set was not existent 3 years back. We never heard of something called as a DevOps 3-4 years back. This is a very recent trend. And if you look at how quickly it has come up to the top 5-6 skill sets, you will be really amazed. So this is actually picking up quite a lot. Database administrators will be sort of an evergreen. When I started my career way back in late 90s, the database administrators were treated like specialists. They are still being treated like specialists, and that skill set is not going to die down. Till the time we have database and we have to process data, we want to retrieve data, you will have a database administrator who will need to be required. So, but the other thing that is kind of picking up is designers. This is where your UX or user experience designers are coming in. How do you design a web page? Earlier, again, this skill set 10 years back, 20 years back was non-existent. The developers used to double up as designers, and they used to slap on any colors, anything that looks good, and used to make a website and send it out. But that's not true anymore. Your web page has to look completely wow. That when the customer comes or a user uses this application, they feel a really good feel of the whole application. So that's where the designers are coming in now. So if I have to list them down, programming development, which is any of those first three things, IT infrastructure, that is cloud computing, how a cloud infrastructure is managed, how DevOps are done, UX engineers from designing an application to making sure the user experience is really good. I mean, if you have a form and you need to scroll down multiple times to fill up the form, then the experience is not good. But if it's such a way that the form is designed such a way that it can fit into the smallest resolution screen and people can fill it up pretty quickly, that makes my life simpler. Then, as I mentioned, security, performance, automation engineers. This is again an evergreen field, and people are being in high demand in these three areas. Then the data scientist, which is from the AI/ML perspective, that's an upcoming role, but this is where a lot of focus is being put on data scientists as well. And this is again a specialized role. Nobody, I mean, you can't just become a data scientist. You need to go through some specialized courses to on AI/ML. Your maths needs to be good. If you have a statistics background, then that really helps. So one of the things that I typically see when I go to a campus interview is that people have done maybe a couple of JS based like Angular or React. Mostly they go to something called as mostly they go for a language like Python, but I don't consider Python as a enterprise application or an enterprise language. So I insist. If you're not speaking, can you put yourself on mute? There's some disturbance that is there. Okay. When I go and when I've been in different campus interviews across last 3-4 years, I've seen this trend that, and I'm talking about computer science background students. I'm not even going to the other branches. For computer science background students, when I talk about, okay, do you know Java? Do you know C? Do you know C++? I get the response that yeah, it was taught to us in one of the semesters, but I don't have too much of knowledge on this. But then okay, when I look at the skill set, I see Python there, and my question is to why do you learn Python? Oh, it's easy to learn. It's easy to incorporate. That's fine, but remember this: that when you go into a job, 95% chances that you'll be working on these two technologies mostly. In fact, mostly it'll be Java that we'll be working on. So when somebody comes on for a campus interview, or when you're being interviewed in campus interviews, or when you appear for a job interview, if you have a skill, if you have mastered one of the core programming languages, it could be Java or C Sharp, then you have won the half the battle. But as I was telling you, either you'll be building an application, or you'll be migrating an application from older tech stack to new tech stack, which means you need to learn how to read a Java code. You also need to learn how to build a Java code properly. So your knowledge on core programming skill is something that cannot be uh, wished away. So we need to pick up one of these languages, and you need to go deep and learn that programming language thoroughly. Work on data structure and algorithm problems, work on modular code structures using that language of your choice, but make sure that you master one of the programming languages. So if you look at it, Java is somewhere down, but almost 90% of the enterprise applications are being built on Java. So though you have JavaScript, SQL, and Python coming up on top, but that's from a trend right now. But from a job market perspective, Java is one. Java and C# will be the two primary languages that you need to learn. C, C++ is still being used for all these mainframe-based technologies, embedded technologies, or anywhere you do chip-based designs and technologies. C, C++ is still being used. So if you appear for a company like Intel or Saskin or any of these companies, then semiconductor-based companies, C, C++ will be a primary knowledge that you require. Now, this is where additional skill sets are coming in. Once you have mastered your programming skills, your core programming skill, you need to build up your additional skill set. And the additional skill set will actually help you differentiate your CV against any other CV that some recruiter is seeing in a campus interview, or somebody is looking at a campus interview. Let's say I'm sitting in a campus interview and I'm interviewing 10 people, 10 candidates on that day. What sets one CV apart from the other is how much you know that. I mean, if you're coming from a BCA or a computer science background and you already made up your mind that you want to go and build your career in IT, then what actually stands out is how much time have you spent actually preparing for it. One thing is to do whatever, I mean, through the degree and through the course that you're doing right now, whatever it's being prepared, but that everybody in your class is preparing the same thing. So what is it that is setting you apart? So one is definitely a good, strong command on the programming language first. Second is, what additional skill sets have you learned, which is beyond your course? So something like JavaScript knowledge, like React and Angular. HTML, CSS is very important. Python, PHP, or web services. How do you build a REST or SOAP-based web service? What is Spring Framework, cloud computing? So these are the various different things. I'm actually noting down, and the one more thing that I see in the CVs is, because AIML is so hot, I see everybody doing an AIML based project. It's fine. I mean, that's a technology trend, and you might be doing AIML for to learn it and do it. But also know this, that not every company knows what to do with AIML. It's a latest tech trend, and maybe certain companies are investing in it, maybe certain companies are doing it. But again, that is not the core business for a lot of these businesses. That's not the core thing. So if I see 10 CVs of everybody doing an AIML based project, what I see is, okay, but this is not going to be used in the team that I'm going to hire for. So what I'll be more interested in, okay, this person has done Java, this person has done React and Angular, this person is good on SQL. I can actually use the skill set immediately when I hire this person. But if this person is coming and doing an AIML project and coming in, that person's knowledge is only AIML, then I'll have to again spend time teaching that person on React or Angular and Java and things like that. Because end of the day, that's what I'm going to use. That's what's being used in my company. Now that's a perspective I'm telling you from a general overall industry. It's good to do AIML, but build your skill set on core programming knowledge and some of these other things like Spring. And if you do Spring and cloud computing, you are valuable in the market. If you know mobile development, again, your value just goes up quite a lot. If you have worked on React and Angular and you have learned that technology, your value is very high. So yeah, again, it's continuing on the additional skill set. Okay, so we are very close to the, we just have 10 more minutes, so I'll kind of push through. This section is on when somebody comes in for a campus interview, or when you go and appear for an interview and you're appearing for an interview as a fresher, there are certain rules that every company looks for, and if there are certain things that every company looks for, and that is not said in the this one. It's just more by a feel and the gut feel of the interviewer. Now, this is again coming from my experience of taking interviews across different campuses. What happens with Indians here is that we don't focus on the right stuff most of the times. And I'm specifically saying Indians because I've seen this across multiple generations. I've seen multiple colleges, campuses, even in the company that I've worked across, people who have around 5-10 years of experience, still they have issues taking care of this one. If I give a problem statement to you, you'll immediately start telling me how you'll solve it. So you directly jump onto the how part of the problem. So don't jump on the how part. Nobody's interested in the how part. If I can hire 5 people, all the 5 people can tell me a how part of it. What I'm interested is when a problem statement is given to you, before asking the how part, ask why this problem existing. Because if you know that, then you are going behind the crux of the problem. Solving is one part, but understanding the problem is more important. So before you jump into the how, ask why. Why am I going to solve this problem? What is the problem? Why is this problem there? And again, the next question, so if I give a problem to somebody, they'll come back with the how part of it. Okay, I'm going to solve it like this. I'm going to put a Java here. Going to put React here. I'm going to put this. I'm going to put that. I'm going to solve it like this. Fine, the how part is done. And then after that, immediately that person will go to, and I can give it to you in the next 1 month. So the moment a problem is given, people jump onto the how and the when part, but instead ask why and what. So why is this problem there, and what needs to be done to solve this problem? Because if you ask that question, then you're actually going behind the problem, not coming up with a solution directly. So it's very important to learn the business and the domain. So whichever company you go and join, learn the core business. What is this business all about? If you go and join a retail company, understand what part of this retail industry are you working in. Are you in the inventory? Are you in the supply chain management? Are you in the ordering? Are you in the customer order fulfillment? What part of this domain are you in? If you're in the banking, are you in the accounts department? How does the account get opened up? How does the customer come into the bank? What happens there? Learn that business, because finding the solution is very easy, and that's what your core subjects are. You are coming from computer science background, that's your core subject is. But learning the business, learning the domain is very important. Also, when you do your final year project, when I see those CVs coming in for campus interviews, people talk about, okay, this is the project I did. When I ask, why did you do this? Oh, there was this problem, but I thought I'll solve it like this. Again, that person has already gone to the how part, instead of analyzing why. So what happens in campus interviews is typically when I see the CV and I see a project. Now this person might have put an AI/ML system and done a lot of things, and I say, but you can solve this in a simple Excel sheet. I'll put this data in Excel, I write a few formulas, and I'll get the same data out. Why should I build this whole AI/ML system to analyze and give that data to me? So when you do a final year project, try to keep that project simple. Whatever problem statement you're picking, go through this why and what first. And if you feel that you can actually solve this problem without going through the solution that you're putting in, by putting in a very simple things and simple tools, then why should you spend your time doing the project? Why not do something that will be probably of real value? Also focus on design. When we talk about final year, so when you come for a campus interview or you walk into an interview, the only way the person can interview is based on your final year project. Your likes and dislikes, your hobbies are one thing, but your final year projects, the projects that you've done through your degree, those are the ones that people will start grilling you on or talking to you about. Okay, why did you do this? What did you use for doing this? And they'll start complicating that problem further. So when you do your final year projects, or when you invest time in your projects, make sure that you focus on the design of the project as well. Okay, what is the, so when you use terms like, oh, I use the microservices architecture for doing this project, it immediately catches attention that, okay, this person has spent some time and not directly gone into solving the problem, but he's spent some time on learning the design aspects of it, then implementing those design aspects. And that just uplifts your CV from any other CV that the person is seeing. If you've implemented something like a logging and security, and you've done some performance analysis on your system, that actually are the brownie points. I mean, these are like, if I get a CV like that where this person has gone through it, I might actually select that person in the first 15 minutes itself. I might not go that interview may not go to half an hour or 1 hour. Within the first 15 minutes, I'll select that person, because this is the person who's coming in across, the skill set is immediately valuable to us. from who are coming from the industry right now. If I'm going to pick up somebody from the college and somebody is doing all these kind of things, like looking at the design, looking at the cross-cutting concerns, like logging, security, performance, and it's like I'm talking to somebody who has a 3 or 4 year experience. I'm not talking to a fresher. That's the experience when I'll get when I'm interviewing somebody. Development process. What kind of development process have you used? Is it waterfall versus agile? Are you doing sprints or scrums? So again, it's very easy to learn this on any of the YouTube videos, or on there are a lot of tutorials on sprints and what agile development is all. But when you do a final year project and you have 4 or 5 people, can you run it as a scrum? Can you run it as a sprint? And if you can do it and put it on your CV, again, it's a great thing to see that. Similarly, teamwork and collaboration. A lot of times I've gone into campus interviews, and these are real life instances I'm telling you, where I'm talking to this person and I'm okay, how many people were there in your final project? They say, we were 4 people, but the other 3 people did not do anything. I was the one who doing it. The moment you say that, yeah, you're trying to show that you went out of the way to fix things and you went out of the way to do everything, and but that works as negative towards you, because it doesn't show teamwork and collaboration. But if you can come and say that, yeah, we were 4 people, we divided tasks like this person's skill set was in front end, so we gave him the front end technologies. This person's skill set was database, so that person took up database. My skill set was in backend development, I took up backend development. And this is how we went through, this is how we ran the sprint, this is how we collaborated. The next question that will come to you is, okay, what challenges did you face? You can bring up different challenges that, yeah, the requirements changed, or we felt that we can actually build in this requirement which will make the project more well-rounded. Now these are the good things to talk about. If you talk about people issues that, okay, this person did not work, so I, apart from backend technologies, I also did the front end, that's not how things will work in our industry. If this is happening in a company, then a manager will step in and fix things. So what you have to show is teamwork and collaboration to get a project out. So this is one thing that I want to stress upon. Most likely, when you join a company, any company, anywhere in the world, most likely 90% of chances that you'll be working on a technology or a product that's already been there in production for some time. And the immediate response that I see from people who are coming fresh from college is, oh, this is a very old technology. It's old technology, but you can't disrespect it. There's some thought that has gone behind when this code was created 10 years, 15 years back. There's some thought that has been put through. There have been some challenges that the team went through to create it. So it's one thing to that you know the latest technologies and all of it, but if you go through a code that's written 10 years, 15 years back, you'll always come back learning something from that code. So code is a culture and you have to respect it. It's always, if you respect the code that is there in front of you and you're learning through it, you will always have a very enriching experience. So with that, I think I'll stop. But I'll be really interested if you have questions and you want to ask them. Some of these discussion that I've gone into for different colleges, I don't get too many questions, but I'll be really happy if you can ask me something, and if any doubts that you have, we can talk about.
So there is one question from Harish in the chat box.
How do I see that? I'm sorry, this tool is kind of
Okay,
causing some issues.
okay, I'll tell you. So he is asking, please explain how performance engineering works.
Okay, that's a good question. So let's say I have let me take a real life example. Let's say I have a Flipkart. I'm an engineer with Flipkart, and the customers are complaining that, so the big billion day sale is coming up. I mean, it's actually coming up in the next few days, so I'm just using that example. Now I know that my the number of users going to come onto that application is going to be tenfold. So typically I see it 2,000. Let's take a number, 2,000 users every day. But during the big billion day sales, I might be seeing almost 2 lakh users on that particular day. How do I make sure that application is able to stand up? So it's one thing, and I'm telling you so it's one thing that I have, let's say, 5 different application servers serving the page. So for the big billion day sale, I'll add another 10 servers. But the 10 servers don't come free. They'll come with a cost. So if my profitability is, so if if my 100 rupees is the total revenue, and I'm only investing 20 rupees into that, so 80 rupees is my profit, simple profit and loss. But for the big billion day sale, I'm expecting I'm expecting 80 rupees for every 100 rupee revenue that I'm going to get. But if I'm going to add another 5 servers and the cost that I'm putting in goes from 20 to 40 or 50 rupees, then my profitability comes down. There's no point holding a big billion day sale. So your performance engineering actually goes and finds out if, let's say, 200,000 users come into that day or that time, what is going to happen to my application? Is it going to break? Is it going to scale up? Is it going to continue? So then trying to find out all the bottlenecks. Okay, the database is a bottleneck. These are a set of queries that are running very slow. The Java application that is there behind it is not releasing memory properly. Even after the request has been rendered or handled, the memory is not getting released, the threads are not getting released. So it's eating up memory and CPU, which means that I have to put more application servers to serve that. My page is not running clearly because that's just too much of JavaScript. The CSS is very big. So trying to find out bottlenecks across the various different parts of the application and trying to remove them. The performance engineering is nothing but in the product. There could be two ways. In production, there's a system and you're analyzing it to find out bottlenecks, or before the system actually hits the production, you're trying to find out bottlenecks. Now, it's always a matter of things. Like when I'm designing a car for my city traffic, I'll design it such a way that it can probably drive at 100, 120 max. When the same car is put on the highway, maybe 120 max. But I'll not design the car for a 400 km per hour speed because that's not the requirement. So it's actually depending on what requirement of the application is. If the application's requirement is that, yeah, the maximum number of users will see or the maximum traffic will see is 2000 users, let's design it for that. And let's performance engineer for that. If the application has been designed for 2000 users and if you're testing it for 200,000 users, then definitely the application is going to fail and you're spending unnecessary time fixing it. But so it's that the whole performance engineering is that how many users, what is the number of users at any instant of time, what are the other factors which can cause load on the system, if that load is put all together in the system, how is the system performing, where are the bottlenecks, trying to find the bottlenecks. When you're developing an application, you might write a query and you think it's the best query, but you put that through a load and you see that the queries start failing because the index is not created properly, the joins are not done properly, or the Java application that you've written, it's doing a lot of recursive loops of finding out the right, or doing a lot of recursive loops. Um, so trying to find those bottlenecks, trying to figure out where the bottleneck is and trying to remove that. That's what performance engineering is all about. So any performance engineer needs to have knowledge of database, from application, monitoring tools, network, load balancers, all of it. I'm not sure if I answered that question.
Hi, sir. Hi, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sir, actually, you took an example of Jaguar company and you were explaining about it. So, can I know how Jaguar company takes the look of AI with any good example?
Yes. So Jaguar actually right now looking at two things. One is IoT. So each of their so if you walk into any car manufacturing company right now, it's so the production line. When you talk about production line, the starting from a sheet of steel that is coming into the factory, from molding it to a body, going in all the way to that production line where you start fitting the engine and everything else. It's a complete production line. So if Jaguar saying is that I'm going to manufacture 50 cars today, I need so it needs the material for all those 50 cars. Jaguar does not produce all those components. Like for example, the steering wheel that is not manufactured by Jaguar. It's actually manufactured by ancillary unit, some different manufacturing unit located close to the Jaguar factory, who will be manufacturing those leather steering wheels. If there's a particular kind of nut or a bolt that is being created that is required on the engine assembly, that again is not manufactured by Jaguar. It's manufactured by some ancillary units. So if you take a car and you start taking parts out, almost 40 to 50% of the parts are manufactured by other companies, not by the core company. And most of these other companies are situated in the 4 or 5 kilometer radius of Jaguar. That's true for even Maruti or Ford or any of these companies actually. If you go to Chennai to the Hyundai factory, around Hyundai factory, you will see almost another 50 factories serving Hyundai. because they are the ones manufacturing those components. So what Jaguar wants to do is, in the production line, they want to create IoT. They have IoT-based devices. So let's say I have a stack of steering wheels being put into one bucket on one large bin. It has IoT devices to keep measuring. It knows that the weight of the steering wheel is this much for one. So I'll be manufacturing 50 today, but my bin is only catered to hold 20 steering wheels. So the device is calibrated in such a way that it knows that when the 20 steering wheels are there, and as the production line is moving across and the steering wheels are being put onto the cars, the weight starts reducing, and there is a watermark level that is being set. That once the number of steering wheels goes down to, let's say, 6 or 5 or whatever number it is, there's a system sitting in the back which then creates an order that I need another 10 more and sends to that manufacturing unit. And within, so in the second, the device is able to find out that I'm in the last 5 6, and in the next millisecond, an order is getting created by the system in the backend, and in the next few seconds, that order is now being placed to the manufacturing unit, which is again very close to the Jaguar factory. That order is being taken by the manufacturing company and getting fulfilled just in time for that. By the time the last steering wheel is being put onto the car, the next batch of steering wheels arrive there in the company, which means that for Jaguar, I don't have to maintain all the 50 steering wheels for that day. I can replenish my inventory as and when things go along. So that's where IoT and AIML is coming together. So earlier, what used to happen is that, okay, I have to order for all the 50 because I can't manage it. I'll be manufacturing 50 cars. I'll order one day before. I'll order for the 50 steering wheels. They'll come in the morning. I'll start my production line. I'll keep putting things in. So I need to have 3 bins instead of 1 bin. I might have to put 3 bins there, and the user will have to the factory worker who is there has to manage those things. Now it's gone to an intelligent system where there's only 1 bin and a just-in-time inventory can be managed. I'm just giving one example of one component, but that's so now replicate this to almost other 40% of the component in the car, and you'll see a system which is very efficient and is working in a way where the factories, the floor space in the factory is now managed well. Did that answer the question? Sorry. Any more questions?
Students, if you have any questions, you can ask now. No questions?
Hi.
There is one question
Yeah,
from
ma'am.
Shiv. So he is asking, can I apply a job for Google company?
You can apply a job for any company actually. You can apply a job for Boeing or Airbus. It's depending on what you are applying for. If you if you're very strong in data structures, if you're very strong in a core programming language, so this is what I wanted to talk about. One of the core programming language, and you're very strong on data structures, algorithm, you can apply for any company actually. And Google actually is just a company, is a company, but then there are multiple job profiles within Google itself. Like for example, I was talking about this thing called SEO here, SEO and accessibility. You'll be surprised to know that Google is the company right now which is kind of setting benchmarks on SEO and accessibility. When you talk about accessibility for visually impaired or colorblind or people with disabilities, how can they easily access your application and use your application? That's where accessibility comes in. And if you want to measure a website on its accessibility parameters, Google is building those engines. Google is also is the company where SEO benchmarks have been set. They are they're the company. So it's not just about building the search algorithm, but Google is actually right now looking at multiple ways in which, so Google is the Amazon of web development. If you talk about any kind of web development, Google is the master company at this point. So and they're giving tools and utilities to the developer community to work on any technology for that matter. So it may not be just working for the search engine part of the Google, but because that's a core business. But Google is also across many other things right now. So if your focus is on one of the things that, again, focus on your core programming skill, go very deep into it. If you picked up Java, make sure that you're going deep into Java to come out, learn multi-threading, where the threading so it's not, again, one thing is to learn the technology, but also to realize that where this technology will break. So when you face questions in interviews with Google, you'll be asked for very complex data structure and algorithm based questions. If you have a mastery of a programming language like Java, where you can know the various different the data structures that are used within Java, and you can go and solve those problems using those, that'll be really good. So this slide becomes very important if you are applying for actually, in fact, any job, not just Google, any job as such. In fact, if you apply for a job in the company that I work for, the first round will be going through this programming language and data structures.
Okay. So we'll wind up. So I hope there are no more questions. So I would like to give a small vote of thanks. So I would like to share this opportunity to thank our today's speaker, Manas Sahu sir, for sparing his valuable time in sharing his knowledge with us. And I also thank all my students for attending the session. And also I extend my thanks to ICT Academy, who is helping us organizing this virtual power seminar on technology trends, which is a webinar series from 5th to 9th October. So students will meet tomorrow at the same time. Thank you all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.